What were you like as a kid?
I was pretty quiet. I was pretty shy in general.
I picture New Hampshire being a very shy, quiet state.
A little bit. People underestimate New Hampshire and Maine's northern southernness. There are real hillbillies.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Maine, you go past the parts you can think of Maine. Maine and New Hampshire have
Augusta?
they have solid neo-Nazi types.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, live for your die isn't joking. Like there's a lot of people who just want to live in a trailer in the middle of the woods and don't fucking bother me or I will shoot you. And that sort of, I remember a lot of those sort of we call them redneck kids. So there's a lot of that growing up there. And I was always very quiet and I love to read and I think it took me a while to figure out stuff I was really into. I had small number of close friends but not a ton.
Were you in a bigger town or a smaller?
For New Hampshire is a bigger town. It's a town called Keene, New Hampshire.
Okay.
And I grew up there and in a town right next to it called Swansea. And it was I grew up for a while on a horse farm and then we moved into the town which was Keene. And so it's here in LA, quaint as hell.
Right.
But for New Hampshire, one of the bigger ones, they had it went sprawled on. They had a multiplex.
So you mentioned horse farm. Did you breed horses? Your family bred horses?
I actually am foggy on where these horses came from. My great grandfather, I think,
you guys just had a house and horses came up and you called it a horse farm.
Horses just fenced them in. They're not going to leave. How can they get out? My great-grandfather, I think, bred maybe thoroughbreds or bred racing horses.
Oh, wow.
He somehow made oil money in
clearly
the early part of the 20th century in New England. I don't have any understanding how you do that. It doesn't make sense.
The details are sketchy.
Very sketchy. So then these were descendants of those horses.
Okay.
That would on this farm we lived on that for a while that would live there, but I don't truly understand how this old Irish guy how that happened.
Right,
there's a big block there that I'm wait, well, what was before that though? Where'd that come from?
How many horses are we talking?
At most, I think at one point we had 13 horses on the farm.
Damn, that's a lot.
Yeah, and eventually they whittled down, because horses are crazy expensive,
of course.
And that became. So it was 13 and then less and less and less and less.
Did you ride them? Did you do anything with them, or were you just hey,
rode them a little bit? Yeah, I rode them a little bit. I was never super into it as a kid. Also shy, quiet, and allergic, so I couldn't spend too much time with them. But it was so there was a period where I would ride horses, and I never went all in. I was more into Ninja Turtles.
Of course,
I was more into video games than horses. But it was. I was kind of familiar with them, and it wasn't like I was out there, baling hay every day,
right?
But it was just there, beautiful old, I think 19th century farmhouse with this acreage around it, and the horses would be out there. It was very, very, very New Englandy, very pretty.
Did you name all 13?
They were when you're breeding horses, you have a system. Typically, my understanding.
I don't need to know. I obviously know all this, but for the audience listening.
My understanding is that when you're breeding horses, you have a system for naming them. And this system was it was alphabetical. So every horse, the next horse born would be the next letter down. So it would be, that horse is named, Tally Ho. Then what comes after a T? STU. So the next horse will be named something that starts with U.
Underoo.
Underoo. And you make your way down through that. So while I was there, I can only remember, I think only 2 horses were born while I was aware of it. The rest were all older. And I think that has something to do with racing bloodlines and all. It's such a bizarre culture of women in big hats and guys in bolo ties that I never fully understood.
I'm picturing all these 13 horses having their own personalities and you going on adventures with them in the woods.
Some of them were jerks. I remember the ones that were jerks. Some of them were real dicks. And,
some were Raphaels.
Yeah, they'd bite you, which was
jeez.
Yeah,
that's aggressive.
I had a number of run-ins with animals at that because we had other animals too, and I once got attacked and chased by a goose, and I had to climb on top of a tractor to hide it because they'll break your arm if you get into it. And then there was a really mean rooster. And I was a little kid, and I still remember it. And for some reason, I had been filling Jell-O molds with water and putting them out in the winter to make them freeze, and then I'd have like ice in these weird shapes. I don't know why I was doing that. And I went down to check on one of these Jell-O molds, and there was just a rooster. And I got by the rooster. When I turned around, the rooster was now blocking my path back to the house.
Yeah.
And if I went close to it, it would do the chicken version of like that like drunk bar fight of like what like chest sort of thing, like kind of coming at me, and I was terrified of it. And I was yelling for my mom. I was like, Mom, the chicken's trying to get me. And she just ignored me because that's an insane thing. And it wouldn't let me by, and it was clearly wished me ill. This was a mean-spirited rooster. And finally, she looked out the window and saw that I was scared, so she came out and chased it away, and I wouldn't go down there. So she's like, fine. She gave it to my aunt, who also had a farm. It's like, okay, fine. No one believed me. Cut to like a month later, my aunt looked out the window and saw my cousin, who's a year younger than me, running across the yard, chased by this chicken, who jumped up, and he was small. My cousin was small enough that it jumped on his back and knocked him to the ground.
Jeez.
And started pecking the back of his head, trying to murder a child. So my aunt ran out and got it and was like, I don't know what to do with this chicken. So she gave it to another mutual friend who had a farm.
Oh, no. Get rid of it. It sounds like a Chucky doll.
Just sending it, cursing other people. Cut to like a month or two later after that, being like, oh, what happened to that rooster? And the other people who were way more farmery than we were like, oh, we ate it. Yeah. It attacked our daughter, so we ate it.
That is scary and hilarious at the same time.
Yeah.